Literacy and numeracy have ceased to just be skills and become the foundations of brilliance. Let's take this journey of transformation together, where we unravel the story of the Bahamas' commitment to pushing boundaries, taking learners from the basics to a realm of brilliance in literacy and numeracy. It's not just about reading and counting. It's about empowering minds and igniting a passion for lifelong learning. This is From Basics to Brilliance, advancing literacy and numeracy in the Bahamas. Keep watching. A brand new episode of You and Your Money starts now.
You and Your Money is brought to you by Commonwealth Bank.
Welcome to You and Your Money, everyone. Joining us today to talk about holistic literacy and numeracy beyond basic skills is the Acting Deputy Director of Education for Schools Management, Mrs. Janice Moss. Mrs. Moss, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, Mrs. Moss, how has the definition of literacy evolved to encompass a broader set of skills beyond basic reading and writing?
You are correct. In days past, being literate means that you can actually read and write. But in the modern world, literacy has extended far beyond that. For example, we speak about digital literacy. Our children must possess skills and the knowledge to navigate online platforms, as well as to use digital tools such as the computer, smartphones, and tablets. And we saw this during COVID-19 and the pandemic, and also during Dorian. Also, when we speak about literacy, we have to also think about environmental literacy, where our students have to know how to take care of the environment and those factors and the things they do that can have a positive or negative impact on the environment. And then we speak about information literacy, and this involves our students locating information, evaluating this information, and also to determine if the source that they're using is credible. That's important. And of course, we speak also about global literacy, what is happening in our world, and how it impacts us as Bahamians and how we are all connected in one shape or size or the other. So it is just not reading and writing, but it encompasses so much more.
Now, in what ways do advanced skills like critical thinking and digital literacy, as you would have mentioned, contribute to a more comprehensive understanding of literacy and numeracy?
Well, critical thinking skills is most important, because to think critically means that you have the ability to analyze information and also to problem solve, to use the information to problem solve. And that is very, very important. And a lot of focus is being placed in our schools on critical thinking, because our children have to apply what they learn to solve real life problems. We want to make learning relevant to problems, to situations that they will encounter. Additionally, critical thinking also empowers our young people to think outside the box, to be creative, and so they can make the best of any situation. And so it plays a crucial role in how our students prepare themselves for whatever may come their way, anything.
How can a holistic approach to education better prepare individuals for challenges that they may face in the various aspects of life?
Well, that's a wonderful question, because we teach the whole child, and we look at not only academics, but social aspects, physical, as well as emotional and psychological aspects of our students, because We want them to be able to function. It's just not in school, but in their communities and the wider world, because after all, we want to create global citizens. And when I say that, we want them to be resilient and be able to adapt to setbacks and be able to just be stronger by using the knowledge and skills that they have acquired to be successful. We also want them to be lifelong learners. We want to develop a curiosity and make them eager to learn. Beyond the classroom, we want them to explore new information throughout their lives. And so it's a holistic approach to education and literacy. We want them to be functioning beyond the classroom, but in their communities and the wider world.
What role does numeracy play in the expanded definition of literacy, and how are these skills actually interconnected?
Well, numeracy, like literacy, we had very fundamental definitions of these terms. Numeracy meant that you knew numbers and you know how to count and you were fine. But it's expanded because nowadays our students, they have to gather data, statistical data. They have to determine if where they are getting that data from, if it's credible, and how to use data. But in a wider context, we want them to be able to transfer the knowledge they gain in one area into another. And so numeracy, while it has to do with numbers, our students have to be able to expand their knowledge and use it to solve greater and bigger issues and problems.
Can you share some examples of some of the educational initiatives or even programs that successfully embrace the broader definition of literacy and numeracy, having to prepare individuals for a multifaceted world?
Oh, yes. At the Ministry of Education, we have a minister who believes that, and this is something we know, we have talented and gifted students in our system. And with that being said, there are many programs and initiatives in our schools where we engage our private partners, and they are doing an excellent job in ensuring that our children are exposed. As it relates to global literacy, our students just today, they are engaged in a workshop that speaks about climate change and what they must do to raise awareness and for us not to further damage the planet on which we live. Also, in terms of digital literacy, we have many assimilations and we have many programs in our schools. For example, in one of our schools, we have the NFT, Art for All program that assists students with their writing. It makes writing come alive. They use AI. The AI creates the character that they are writing about. We have many competitions that our children participate in where they can express themselves, whether it's rap, whether it's in poetry. So we are live and we're doing well in our public system because we embrace and we know the importance of literacy and numeracy.
Mrs. Moss, thank you for coming on the show today.
It was my pleasure.
We have to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to look at teaching literacy in the 21st century, strategies for educators. This is You and Your Money. We'll be right back.
There are some things that are undeniably Bahamian. A good count salad, junkanoo, the way we worship, the way we take care of one another, all undeniably Bahamian. And right in the midst of our iconic things, places, and people is Commonwealth Bank. Increasing access, sponsoring dreams, working alongside Bahamians to increase the quality of their lives for more than 60 years. Commonwealth Bank, nothing more than being Bahamian. Commonwealth Bank, leader in personal banking services.
The 17th 𝗖𝗎𝗥 Business Outlook is coming up on Thursday, October 19th at Sandals Emerald Bay. Join us as we discuss the theme Forward, Upward, Onward Together, a bold vision for 𝗖𝗎𝗥 in celebration of the nation's 50th anniversary of independence. Keynote address by the Honorable 𝗖𝗢𝗥𝗘𝗧𝗧, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism, Investments and Aviation. Speakers are Tracy Boucher, Gowan Bowe, Rob Coughlin, Dennis DeVoe, Tracy Cooper, Sarah Swanson, Brent Hurt, Lakeisha Anderson Rolle, Sheandra Newton, Tony Seymour, Robert Deal, and Carrie Fountain. Don't miss this valuable networking opportunity. Register now at tclevents.com. That's 𝗖𝗎𝗥 Business Outlook, Thursday, October 19th.
Welcome back to You and Your Money. We're continuing our discussion on From Basics to Brilliance, Advancing Literacy and Numeracy in the Bahamas. Here with us today, we have the department head from the University of the Bahamas School of Education, Dr. Natasha Jones-Swann. In the first segment, we discussed holistic literacy and numeracy beyond basic skills. In this segment, we'll be discussing teaching literacy in the 21st century, strategies for educators. Dr. Swann, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a privilege being here with you today.
Based on your experience as a teacher educator at the University of the Bahamas, how has the concept of literacy evolved in the 21st century, especially in the context of teaching?
Well, firstly, I think we need to establish the definition of literacy, because literacy has evolved over the past several years in terms of pedagogy. In essence, literacy is about communication. And if students and persons are able to communicate effectively, then we have determined that they are indeed literate. So it has evolved greatly over the past several years.
Tell us about the different levels of the programs that you offer in the School of Education, and also give us the insight as to the actual benefits and the impact.
Well, the School of Education, we teach several courses that pertain to literacy. And we have we have early childhood education, we have primary education, we also have secondary education, and we also have a diploma program for persons who have already attained a degree. And so within those programs, we have several courses that focus predominantly on literacy instruction, defining literacy, and ensuring that our teacher educators understand exactly what literacy is, and how they're able to integrate literacy strategies within their teaching. And also we also have a program, another iteration, I should say, of our Masters of Science in Reading with Inclusive Education for our educational professionals who decide, they want to have a master's degree or graduate degree in literacy. So we're looking at, like I said before, the definition of literacy. We're looking at how do we integrate literacy strategies in our classes. But we're also looking at students who have literacy deficits, and how can we go about trying to assist those students, looking at various intervention methods and looking at ways we can really help them to become literate. We can really help them to be able to communicate effectively in this ever-changing, highly complex world.
So how can educators address the diverse literacy needs of students from kindergarten to secondary school?
I think I think as educators, we need to understand that our world is changing. We need to understand that with the influx of persons coming from various cultures, we need to understand technology, we need to understand social media. All of these things impact how our students learn. And students, I always say to our educators, those are the pre-service teachers, I said, when you enter a classroom and you see your students walking in with their backpacks, I say to them, you must teach holistically. And so we really encourage them to look at teaching and pedagogy from a culturally responsive way of teaching, so that we really tap into all of the various ways of knowing that our children have. So for example, you might have a child who is of Haitian descent. We can't ignore that. So we must bring those into the classroom, bring what they know about how to cook typically, or or someone who's from a Jamaican background, or someone whose socioeconomic class is a little different from theirs, or someone even someone who is from the island, for example. All of their ways of knowing might be a little different. So we encourage our pre-service teachers to incorporate all of that. All of what our students bring to the table, use that as an advantage to get them to learn and to adapt to whatever it is that we're trying to teach them.
Now, in the digital age, how important is it for educators to integrate technology into literacy instruction?
Literacy has, like I said, the definition has evolved, and so we have to take into account new literacies, right? So we have to also take into account multi-literacy. So we talk about financial literacy, we talk about computer literacy, we talk about digital literacy. So we must understand that while literacy is about communication, students are able or must be able to communicate in the digital world as well. And we know that our students are very involved in digital literacy. We know that they have cell phones, smartphones, they're on their computers all the time. They're able to navigate through the various platforms quite easily. But as teacher educators, we must ensure that we bring this into the classrooms as well. In several of my classes, I use Facebook. I use a private Facebook group where my pre-service teachers have to upload videos about their instruction. They have to create multimedia presentations as they are presenting certain things. And in essence, they eventually will have to teach these types of things to their students. And so we are encouraging them because, like I said before, our world is highly complex. Technology plays a vital part in how we learn and our ways of knowing. And so our pre-service teachers need to be fully informed in terms of how they address digital literacy in the classrooms as well as out of the classrooms. We must understand as well that our students learn a lot in the classrooms, but they also learn a lot outside of the classroom. So good teachers must be able to go outside of the box and bring in these digital strategies, blogging, and even using Snapchat, even using Roblox, for example. My children use Roblox all the time. And even in Roblox, it really encourages them to think critically about what they're doing in that particular platform. So digital literacy is indeed crucial for our pre-service teachers to understand, as well as our students to learn about.
What role does teacher enthusiasm for literacy play in shaping students' attitudes and skills?
You know, the thing is, I always tell my pre-service teachers, I say to them, you cannot possibly teach reading and writing if you are not an avid reader or an avid writer. You cannot do it. To me, it's hypocrisy. And it's like a huge, huge fib. And so I think students need to be enthusiastic about, pre-service teachers, need to be enthusiastic about great books, great literature, great things, for example, sharing great books with our students all of the time. They must show that they are a role model. They are avid readers. They are lifelong readers and writers, lifelong learners, to be precise. And that attitude must ricochet towards their students. It must transfer into their teaching so that their students can see, my teacher loves books. She loves poems. She loves Eric Carle books, and bringing those types of literature into the classroom and just showing students how and being authentic, with it as well. And so that, I think we need to be enthusiastic. We need to be avid readers and writers as teachers, in-service teachers, pre-service teachers. That has to transcend to our students.
That's definitely taking the approach of leading by example.
Precisely.
Dr. Swann, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
We have to take another quick break, but when we get back, we're going to be talking about promoting literacy in the Bahamas, strategies for empowerment. This is You and Your Money. We'll be right back.
There are some things that are undeniably Bahamian. A good count salad, 𝗖𝗛𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧, the way we worship, the way we take care of one another, all undeniably Bahamian. And right in the midst of our iconic things, places, and people is Commonwealth Bank. Increasing access, sponsoring dreams, working alongside Bahamians to increase the quality of their lives for more than 60 years. Commonwealth Bank, nothing more than being Bahamian. Commonwealth Bank, leader in personal banking services.
The 17th 𝗖𝗎𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧 Business Outlook is coming up Thursday, October 19th at Sandals Emerald Bay. Join us as we discuss the theme Forward, Upward, Onward Together in celebration of the nation's 50th anniversary of independence. Keynote speaker, the Honorable 𝗖𝗛𝗥𝗘𝗧𝗧, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism, Investments and Aviation, will be joined by a diverse slate of speakers. Don't miss this valuable networking opportunity. Register now at tclevents.com.
Welcome back to You and Your Money, everyone. We're continuing our discussion on From Basics to Brilliance, Advancing Literacy and Numeracy in the Bahamas. In the previous segments, we discussed holistic literacy and numeracy beyond basic skills and teaching literacy in the 21st century strategies for educators. Joining me in this segment to talk about promoting literacy in the Bahamas, strategies for empowerment, is Education Officer Mrs. Demetria Rolle. Mrs. Rolle, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
As we consider promoting literacy in the Bahamas, what specific strategies have proven effective in supporting our high achievers as well as our gifted students?
Well, many of our high achievers are beyond the place where they need to learn to read and read fluently, and they're ready to take their learning to a whole new level. And so within the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training, there are several pathways that are provided beyond the classroom for high achievers to do just that. I'm the National Coordinator for the Teacher Cadet Program, and there are several other programs. There is the Technical Cadet Program, there is Library Cadets, there are many other cadet programs aimed at fostering vocational literacy, understanding of all of these various vocations and professions so that students are able to explore many other aspects of learning beyond the classroom. In the Technical Cadet Program, they explore specific technical elements. We partner with lots of stakeholders and we get them involved and invested in exploring specific professions. And for our high achievers, that's very important because we want to make sure that they are engaged and we want to make sure that at the highest levels, they're able to use what they have learned in the classroom to do so much more.
Now, you just taught me something new. I never heard about library cadets.
Yes. Yes, there's library cadets. We have the agricultural cadets coming on stream. There are cadet programs. The Ministry of Social Services, we're working on something. So many of our partners have seen the benefits. Of course, there's nursing cadets. That's very, very popular. We have our Defense Force Rangers. So many of our stakeholders and partners have seen the benefits of targeting students while they are in high school. And many of these programs, these students, they have to have a particular academic acumen in order to get into these programs. On average, students must have a 3.0, so these are our honor roll students. They must have at least 5 BJCs with a C grade or higher, including math and English. And in many of the programs like the Teacher Cadet Program, they also have to pass an interview process where they have to speak a little about their interests and they have to engage in the why of why they're exploring a particular profession. And so these are all areas where students can think critically about what they're learning, about what they'd like to learn, and about how they can merge the two things so that they are poised for a very, very successful future.
How do these initiatives adapt to the evolving needs of learners in the digital age?
Well, the digital age has been a gift for students, for our high achievers and our learned, our gifted students. The average student may think of 1 + 1 being 2, and they accept that that is the reality of the situation. The gifted student tends to go a little further and ask why. Why is 1 + 1 2? And the beauty of this digital age is that those students are able to take those questions and they're able to explore those questions well beyond the classroom. The teacher, while having a vast amount of knowledge themselves. They're not limited to the knowledge that the teacher has in the classroom. They have the world and the knowledge that's available in the global atmosphere that they can go to and that they can explore. That's the beauty of the digital age and the beauty of the ability of these children to use what they're learning beyond the classroom, to explore, to dream, to engage, to think about things that we would not have thought about when we were young people. One of my favorite quotes about education is that we're trying to train children for careers that don't yet exist, using technologies that haven't been invented in order to solve problems that we don't even know are problems yet. And those are where our gifted children come into play.
Now, you actually talked about some of the stakeholders in one of your previous responses. Are there partnerships with community organizations to nurture the focus or discipline of these students?
Absolutely. There are so many stakeholders. As I would have mentioned earlier, corporate Bahamas and many various professional organizations have seen the benefits of partnering with the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training to foster a love of their profession in youths from as early as the 10th grade. And that's in the professional field. Civic organizations have partnered with the Ministry of Education to develop an appreciation for things like environmental stewardship and the financial literacy as well from as early as primary school in many instances. And so many of our stakeholders partner with us. They provide financial support, they provide actual technical support, they provide human resource support, and they come in and they're in it for the long term. And we just like to thank, there's so many of them. I would hate to begin naming and miss somebody, but there are many of them, and they come and they partner with us, they develop programs, they nurture children. Many of them fall in love with the idea of educating the next generation. And we are so grateful that they have chosen to do that.
How does the Ministry of Education measure the success and the impact of these programs or even partnerships?
Oftentimes, the way that we measure how successful many of these programs are is by the students themselves. They give us, we have exit surveys in the Teacher Cadet program as they leave. We do exit surveys to see how they benefited from the program. Many of the students, we have about a 40% rate of students that actually go into teaching once they're done with the program. But even among the students that don't actually go into teaching, they leave with such an appreciation for the fundamental benefits of teachers and teaching and education that no matter what spheres they go into, I have lots of teacher cadets that I now approach in corporate Bahamas and I say, hi, you were a cadet. Listen, Teacher Cadets is launching this particular program and we'd really like some partnerships. They're a lot more open to it because they have a better understanding of the work that teachers do, the things that teachers do. And the same can be said of many of the other programs. In the Technical Cadet program, you have students that go straight into the corporations, Water and Sewerage and ZNS and BPL and Alive, and they're going to be going in and they're going to be getting experience, they're going to be getting exposure, and oftentimes they go into these professions afterward. And to the extent that these students are able to actually decide, make an informed decision post high school about where they'd like to go, and they are able to matriculate into these various professions seamlessly after high school, that's the biggest indicator of success for us.
Mrs. Rolle, thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
As we conclude this enlightening episode, From Basics to Brilliance, Advancing Literacy and Numeracy in the Bahamas, we're reminded that every letter and number holds the key to brighter futures. The journey doesn't end here. It's an ongoing commitment to nurturing brilliance. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep advancing toward a brighter Bahamas. Here are our dollars and cents snapshots from this week's show. Number 1, empowered economy. Literacy and numeracy investments spur economic growth, reducing dependence on social aid. Number 2, productive workforce. A skilled population boosts business efficiency, innovation, and adaptability, fostering economic resilience. Number 3, prosperous nation. Literacy and numeracy drive national prosperity, creating a foundation for lasting economic success. If you want to know more about how you can be my next guest on this show, you can send me an email to ria@riacristina.com with the subject line, Next Guest. That's it for today's show. Don't forget to follow You and Your Money on Facebook and tune in next week for a brand new episode. I'm Ria Cristina. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
You and Your Money was brought to you by Commonwealth Bank.